The French government attacked Brexiteers in a desperate move, and the Labour Party could accidentally cause no-deal Brexit. Hello everyone and welcome to today's show. As predicted on this channel, yesterday the Sunday deadline for no-deal Brexit was a fake deadline. Just like all the other 24 deadlines that they've had over the last couple of weeks, both sides continue to talk for the next 2 weeks because clearly we have enough time to talk, sign a deal, ratify it in European Parliament, in UK Parliament, all the capital cities across Europe, European Council. Yeah, we have enough time, guys. Everything's fine. We're not going to have a technical extension, right? In this whole thing, France is coming out because they are clearly the winners in all this. They are clearly not desperate. The French, not the French ministers, the finance ministers come out to attack Britain and Brexiteers, the people who caused Brexit, saying that at the end of all this, Brexiteers and Brexit Britain will be the loser. I mean, okay, sure. If you guys feel so confident about this whole thing, why would you go and brief City AM and all the other outlets? They talked to a French radio station about this as well this morning to send a warning saying Britain needs to compromise and back down. Otherwise, we are really worried about Britain because they'll be the losers. Really? Since when France actually cared about Britain? So what this guy has said is that the British people will be the biggest losers from Brexit. And he's gone on this rant, this radio interview with the France Info Radio. And at the same time, what we've had is that Euronews actually published more info about the actual interview itself, which is quite interesting because he did launch this attack on the British stance on Brexit as the trade talks obviously continue in Brussels. He's basically said that the losers will be the British people. These are the people who are the victims of populism and lies. I mean, firstly, populism and lies don't actually go hand in hand. Just because something is populist doesn't mean it's a lie. And not everything that you disagree with is a lie either. So this is what we've had from this guy. And then it continues because he said that Brexit is madness. It's basically said that the British people were led to believe that they could leave the European Union, but they would continue to keep access to the European single market. Technically speaking, we didn't say this, and technically speaking, the European Union themselves were the ones who decided to negotiate with us after we voted to leave the European Union. They could have done what they always promised to do during the referendum: punish us, completely punish us. They said if you vote to leave, we're not going to negotiate. You're going to leave. You're going to be an isolated little England country, whatever. You could have done that. But no, the European Union realized they need to negotiate. They need to have trade links with the UK because all the companies across Europe rely on the UK as their biggest customer. So no, you're lying. Not Brexiteers. Now, this is continuing because you have a situation where Femi, you know Femi, the Remainer. Femi the Remainer has come out to find a video of Boris Johnson's speech during the EU referendum where he's talking about how the people who are freaking out about our trade opportunities with Europe in the future, do you really think that Europe is going to give up? So he's basically tweeted this video saying that, see, Boris lied. Europe isn't desperate. Really?
All those who say that there would be barriers to trade with Europe if we were to do a Brexit, do you seriously believe that they would put up tariffs against UK produce of any kind when they know how much they want to sell us their cake, their champagne, their cheese from France? It is totally and utterly absurd. Is Germany really going to deprive its firms of the incredible access to capital in the City of London when we import so many of their cars? Of course they won't. Of course they won't.
I mean, I'm not sure where the lie was. I'm not sure what the problem is. So he's like so excited, tweeting, yes, finally. Because Andrew Marr on BBC yesterday, he basically read out this speech to Dominic Raab, the transcript, to basically, it's like a gotcha moment. But in reality, no, not really. There's a reason they're still negotiating with us. It's because they want trade as much as we do. Otherwise, they could have walked away. They could have just not started the negotiations. You think that's bad? We have this guy, Ben Troop, who's supposed to be the economics editor at The Independent. Yeah, Independent have an economic editor. They do. They care about the economics, and they understand economics. This guy has written an article F business. This is all. It's a very very propaganda kind of piece. I'm not going to actually show to you. You could Google it, the actual title, and find the article yourselves in the Independent. But it's a propaganda piece in favor of corporatism. For some reason, Independent, a left-wing outlet, and all the other left-wingers are now suddenly pro-business, saying that Brexit is anti-business. But then when they talk about business, they're not talking about business. They're talking about corporations. They're talking about big business, all the executives, and all the ones who've been lobbying big governments for decades and decades, and they're the ones who will be the losers in this whole thing. So they are thinking that they are defending free market capitalism. No, you're not. You're defending corporatism and crony capitalism. Nobody wants that. Again, today on BBC Daily Politics, I don't know nobody really watches that anymore, but I have to because it's my job for you guys. We had Alistair Campbell going on a rant saying that this is not what people voted for.
Nobody voted for this.
How do you know?
No, this mess. Well, you find me anybody who would have said in 2016, if this was where it was going to be 4 years later, where cabinet ministers are going on the television saying, don't worry, we're going to survive as a country. This is a mess. I think it is about time that people who sort of have lived the Brexit fantasy finally did accept that they are now hitting a very different reality. And that is why I think you're in the mess that you're in on it.
I mean, Alistair Campbell constantly talks about the empty promises Brexiteers made during the campaign, after the campaign. What about the European Union? Firstly, they were the ones who offered us a Canada-style trade deal in 2018. They said, this is the only option on the table, guys. Do you want it? Theresa May messed up at the time, but then they made a U-turn. They gave a promise. They gave us this promise that we're going to have a Canada-style trade deal. Then they changed their mind. The European Union initially said they're going to be fully punishing us if we vote to leave. Then they're not going to negotiate with us. But they did it. So if you're talking about the people who lied or actually made empty promises, it's your side, Alistair Campbell. And also the Labour Party, while we're talking about someone like Alistair Campbell who's from the Labour Party, you got one of the MPs who's a shadow cabinet minister, Steve Reid from Croydon, who's come out to say that, Labour have to obviously do something about the upcoming vote on Brexit. And also, we don't really know where the Labour Party actually stand on this.
But what then would Labour do differently? What concessions would Labour make in all of this to get a deal done? Take fishing. How many years would you allow European Union trawlers in our waters?
Well, it was Boris Johnson that said he had an oven-ready deal. It wasn't the Labour Party that said we had an oven-ready deal.
Well, we also know that he was dealing with the withdrawal agreement on that.
He's had 12 months to get this over the line, and it's still not over the line. He promised the British people, he was so confident in his deal, he said he didn't even need to do any planning for a no-deal circumstances because it wasn't going to happen because he had a deal ready to go. He said he had a deal, not Labour. Let's see that deal, let's get it over the line, and let's all move on together.
Well, that was a simple question. What sort of concessions would you make, especially on Fisheries and UK waters? Not only couldn't answer, he then started ranting about an oven-ready deal. The oven-ready deal was the withdrawal agreement that was already passed. We've left the European Union, Steve. Stop ranting about this. Now, you think that's bad? You have his best friend, Ed Miliband. You remember Ed? He's come out to now say that no-deal Brexit is bad. It's basically hell. But doesn't mean that Labour is going to vote for a deal.
No deal is a disastrous outcome for the country. It's not a wonderful outcome. It's a disgrace, frankly, that Boris Johnson said it.
To be absolutely clear, if Boris Johnson comes to the House of Commons next week with a deal, he can guarantee Labour support in the Commons.
Well, look at the detail.
No. You just said no deal is the worst possible outcome.
Well,
Therefore,
look,
if a deal comes back, you must vote for it.
We've said we're minded to support it. But obviously, the one thing I have to say about Boris Johnson... It's not mealy-mouthed.
Right, so just to clarify, the Labour Party are now supporting no-deal Brexit. If the deal isn't what they like, which is quite interesting because what they mean is the Labour Party would like a deal that is almost a membership of the European Union without being a member. Getting to stay tied to the European laws and regulations, the single market, the customs union. And so if we get a bad deal for them, we're going to get a no deal because the Labour Party will vote against it anyway. So I think it's a win-win situation at this point for the United Kingdom. But then yesterday on Andrew Marr's show, you had Dominic Raab to come out and say that the European Union's fear, and that's what they're kicking off, is because they know that the UK will be better off without them.
But the trouble is for the EU, and we respect both the integrity of the single market, but also the practical challenges, is that they're nervous that the UK actually could do rather well, that we may actually thrive. They're worried about that as a matter of competitive advantage. That's not a grubby thing for them to be concerned about, but of course we can't pretend that we're not going to make the very best of Brexit. But they're also worried about the message it sends within the EU.
Sure.
We understand those equities, but actually at the end of the day there is a win-win here, and that's what we're striving for.
Well, that's a fair point, and I absolutely agree with Dominic Raab on this issue, and hopefully the UK team will continue to be strong on this. We did see the statement yesterday, the joint statement from the Prime Minister, but also the fake President of the European Union, Ursula von der Leyen, said that, we just had a phone call, we decided to continue the talks. Fine, you guys are just giving me more content on a daily basis on this channel, so I'm going to keep you guys posted on this issue every day. We only have a few days left till the end of the Brexit transition period, so stay tuned. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel, and if you do believe in Britain, then make sure to get your I Believe in Britain merchandise. We've got the hoodies, coffee mugs, t-shirts. If you're a member of the channel, you get a special discount. The link is in the description, so check it out. And thanks again for watching. The next video, we're going to talk about Jeremy Corbyn. I'm Tousi, and I'll see you guys very soon.